I know the former president put out a statement yesterday in which you could say that his anger and indignation was probably a 10 out of 10. How is he today?
Well, President Trump's doing good. He knows he's done nothing wrong, but he's actually very concerned for our country because the United States, we don't do this in the United States of America as a constitutional republic. This is what you do in third world countries. You try to take out your number one political opponent with sham, trumped up charges, and this is totally baseless. They're trying to decide who our next president is going to be. These corrupt prosecutors with their financial backers they think they get to decide. Well, they're wrong. The American people will get to decide who our next president is. He's leading in all of the polls, and the truth will win in this case once again, as he's been under baseless investigation for 7 years now, and he always comes out more clean on the other side because the truth is on his side.
Given what you say about the motivations behind the indictment, are you expecting a number of others as well?
Well, we are ready for anything. We know there's several taxpayer-funded election interference investigations going on as we speak. Out of D.C., they've hauled members of our campaign before grand juries time and time again, harassing us for, President Trump's complete constitutional rights to contest the 2020 election, and also his rights under the Presidential Records Act. Those investigations are baseless, but we know they have an agenda, and they also have an agenda in Georgia as well. That was totally a lawless investigation with the four-person coming out and doing interviews and leaking grand jury information. And this is so corrupt, Samantha. This cannot happen in a great country like ours. And we're losing our status as a great nation as we turn into just any other banana republic that locks up political opponents, that suspends the rule of law, that weaponizes law enforcement, and rigs elections, and we cannot allow that to continue.
This is the justice system.
Trump's going to continue to fight.
This is the justice system, and if you don't trust in it, then what is how does he respond to that? It's either fight or flight, isn't it? Is he going to be encouraging his supporters to stand up and fight?
This is not a legitimate justice system. This is a show me the man, I'll show you the crime. And look at what Nancy Pelosi said. She said, oh, he'll have a chance to prove his innocence. That's not how it works in the United States of America. That's not how it works in the justice system. You're presumed innocent. You have to be proven guilty. And they've always presumed President Trump guilty of what is his crime? Threatening their corrupt political power. That's what this is about since he came down the escalator. They've harassed him, his family, his business, and they have never found anything. They spied on his campaign. They tried to frame him for collusion with Russia when it was Hillary Clinton. And, they keep saying no one's above the law. Well, apparently a lot in the political class are. Hunter Biden, Joe Biden taking money from the Chinese Communist Party, Nancy Pelosi, insider trading. The list goes on and on. The Clintons, don't get us started. That they are above the law, and they have never had the political system, the justice system used in a political way against them. But they've done this to the most popular.
Let me ask you, Stormy Daniels has gone on record this evening saying that she has received death threats, and she's anticipating violence in New York on Tuesday. Does the president condemn any kind of violence?
President Trump certainly does not want to see violence. I think the only people that want to see violence are the same people who want to capitalize off of it for January 6th. It's the corruption in law enforcement, federal agents and the like. They would like to see violence, but we do not. We want peaceful protests. We want people to exercise their constitutional rights. I mean, the amount of death threats that our campaign has gotten.
If we do see violence, because it's fever pitch, isn't it? And fevers are running very high over this. If we do see violence, will he immediately, categorically condemn it and tell people not to engage in violence?
Well, we're telling people to be very smart and discerning, because anyone who's talking about violence is probably a federal agent if we're going to learn from past experience. So obviously the MAGA movement is very peaceful. It's been proven that at every rally. We just had a rally of over 30,000 people in Waco, Texas. It's the most fun, peace-loving, great event you can be at, is a Trump rally. So that's what our movement is about. That didn't sound to me, Liz,
that didn't sound to me like you were saying that President Trump would immediately condemn any violence. And you can imagine why people are concerned about this, with the memories of January the 6th still looming very large.
Look, this is a game that the media wants to play and hype up tensions. We don't want this division. We want the country to come together. And they are. They are uniting behind President Trump because they know he's been wronged once again. And if it can happen to him, everyone knows that it can happen to any one of us. And all of our rights are at stake. Our rights as a great free country are on the line. So obviously, that's what our goal here is, to make sure that our constitutional rights are intact. And right now, they're hanging by a thread.
Can I just ask whether President Trump thinks that the death threats received by Stormy Daniels are regrettable?
I'm sure he doesn't want any death threats to be issued to anyone. We don't want them coming our way as well. We do not want violence or tension or anything else. We want peace. President Trump, he's the peace candidate. He's the one who would get us out of this conflict with Ukraine. He's the one who ended endless wars and didn't get us into any new ones. He's the one who secured our border and made our country safe. That's what he wants. And look what we have now. Alvin Bragg's New York, lawlessness, crime skyrocketing. That is the violence that they're not pursuing. They're not locking these criminals up. They're actually letting them out. They're moving felonies down to misdemeanors, and yet they're trying to weaponize the law and throw it all out to make a non-crime a misdemeanor and bump it up to a felony. This is upside down. It cannot continue. And again, the only people that want that are the people that aren't prosecuting the real criminals, and that's these Soros DAs, and it's the Justice Department. And in D.C., they declined to prosecute 67% of arrests in D.C.
Liz, the justice system, it is what it is. He has agreed to the arraignment in New York on Tuesday. How is he going to plan concurrently to be managing his legal defense? We know that there's one indictment, there could be more, at the same time as trying to run his campaign to be president of the United States.
He said it before, his whole life has been a fight. He's been under constant, unrelenting attack. It has not deterred him. It's actually making him stronger. He's going to continue to fight for the American people to make America great again. That's all that this is about. And he said it so plainly, you know, our country's on the line. Either the deep state destroys America or we destroy the deep state. That's why they're coming after him so hard. And that's why they continue these sham investigations. But do not be concerned about President Trump. He's going to continue to fight, and we will be victorious because the people are on our side.
The polling suggests that the indictment is helpful in terms of his nomination to the Republican, for the Republican nomination. Not helpful, though, to win the White House. So given that he wants to be a winner, does he not think maybe why bother?
Well, this is clearly election interference. That's what they're trying to do. But we know the American people see through this, and they've seen through it for 7 years now. And more people are rallying behind him because they know he's the number one threat. And everything else, nothing else matters because we have a corrupt ruling class. If we don't have free and fair elections, if we don't have the rule of law, we don't have a country. And that's what they're doing. They're destroying the rule of law. People are seeing that, and they're saying there's one guy that they are going after. There's one guy who has the force of tens of millions of Americans behind him and the greatest political movement our country's ever seen. That's why they're going after him, and that's why our movement is growing. But clearly they want to try to damage him. But just like everything else, the sham impeachments, the Mueller witch hunt, everything else, it always backfires because the truth always wins, and the truth has been on Donald J. Trump's side.
Speaking of wheels of justice, I'd just like to know what President Trump's view is of the ICC arrest warrant for President Putin.
I have not spoken to him directly about this, but I have spoken to him about the conflict in Ukraine. And what we cannot continue to happen is this endless war escalation. President Trump would get these two individuals in the room and would hammer out a deal for peace. No one else will do that. No one else is even willing to talk about it. They just want to keep escalating it. And we're talking about a conflict that could escalate with nuclear weapons. This talk about violence. This is something that's so unacceptable that would never happen under President Trump's watch. And you don't get good negotiations by just, doing the same old of the corrupt neocon establishment. What they want is an endless war. That is unacceptable, and President Trump would not tolerate it, and he would bring peace.
And just a final question to you, Liz. No chance that President Trump would engage in a plea deal?
He is totally innocent. Absolutely not.